the US Justice Department has released its largest batch yet of files relating to the late convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. The latest documents follow several smaller releases over the weekend and include images of an old passport belonging to Epstein. Among the newly published material is an email sent to Ghislaine Maxwell from Balmoral summer camp asking whether she had found some new inappropriate friends. Joining me now is Jack Royston, Newsweek's chief royal correspondent. Hello, Jack.
Hello, thank you for having me on.
Thanks for being with us. So look, all this comes after a photograph of Andrew at Sandringham resurfaced from the Epstein Files. How uncomfortable a moment is this for the royal family, particularly so close to Christmas?
These emails, I think, are actually far more uncomfortable even than that photo from Sandringham. Obviously, we don't have definitive, unambiguous confirmation that the A who signed off these emails was A for Andrew. It's very difficult to believe, though, reading through them, that they are not talking about him. You know, there's references to a valet passing away. He talks about royal summer camp at Balmoral. Balmoral is not a generally public or open place. It's a private estate that's owned by the royal family privately. It's not publicly. It's not like Windsor Castle where you can go on a tour. And so clearly the question here is, did Andrew write these emails? Which is a question about, did Andrew ask Ghislaine Maxwell to find him inappropriate friends? And what could that possibly mean? Now, the date of the email, August 2001, is significant because that is the year that Virginia Jeffrey said that she had this experience where she was flown to London, New York, and the US Virgin Islands and made to have sex with Andrew when she was a 17-year-old trafficking victim, which he, of course, denies. But she said the first incident was March 2001, and I think another one was April and another one was sometime that summer. So basically, it's the same general period in which Virginia has accused Andrew. So the timing of this being that same year will be read as very significant by historians looking into this scandal and its implications for the monarchy.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose one could argue that talking of new inappropriate friends is just meant to be some kind of banter, but given that they appear to show, Maxwell are actively arranging social introductions for Andrew, and given the other stuff she's known to have arranged for other people, I mean, this does raise yet further questions, shall we say, about their relationship. Look, the royal family, Jack, is due to gather at Sandringham in the coming days. Does this risk overshadowing that, or do you think they've effectively kind of sort of cauterized the Andrew problem?
I think in terms of their experience of meeting for Christmas, I think it will have overshadowed it for them on the day. But from Charles's point of view, I think the action he has already taken has so far succeeded in protecting the monarchy from the implications of this. But this new email, much more than the photo from Sandringham, will be a key test of whether that holds. Because, as you say, Ghislaine Maxwell is currently serving 20 years in jail for helping to groom girls for Jeffrey Epstein to abuse. Now, none of that adds up to any kind of instant verdict that Andrew's guilty, but it puts pressure on the fact that Andrew's evidence has never been tested in court. He's never been interviewed under caution by the police, and victims have obviously wanted the Metropolitan Police to investigate Andrew. Now, Andrew, if this was Andrew, this email purports to have been sent from UK soil, from Balmoral, requesting a introduction to these inappropriate friends, which, would mean that any arrangements were being conducted on UK soil within the jurisdiction of UK police, not necessarily the Metropolitan Police if he was up in Scotland, but UK police. But, it also calls into question whether enough has been done to consider what evidence the British royal family might hold, because obviously he also had, or at least we know he had, a royal email address and that he emailed with royal aides. And we've never had any particular indication that the royal family has ever done something equivalent to, for example, what news organizations did during the phone hacking scandal, where they brought in outside counsel to review whatever evidence might be held on their own systems.
I mean, is there any belief out there that when the king acted earlier this year to effectively cut off Andrew, to take away his titles, to kick him out of Royal Lodge, perhaps he knew more than the public knew at that point about what had actually happened here, and perhaps we are going to find that out too?
I think I cannot believe he knew what was in the DOJ's files, but he will have known. I mean, he will have ongoing conversations with Andrew, and we know nothing about those. So yes, obviously he will have known much more about Andrew's state of mind, much more about what Andrew was saying about all of this stuff when new material came to light. We don't know exactly what conversations were had, so we know simply that there were ongoing negotiations and conversations. So Andrew may well have sought to explain or justify some of the other emails that we've seen published, not to mention, Virginia's book, not to mention his reaction to her dying by what her family described as a suicide back in April. So
Mm.
yes, Charles, of course, will know more than we do. But I think that this particular email will have blindsided the royal family too. I cannot believe that they've been given an account of what's been in the Epstein files.
Thank you very much indeed. That is Jack Royston, there, Newsweek's chief royal correspondent. Good to speak to you, Jack.
To be honest, in reviewing the documents that have been released, at least the first gauge and what we understand is that it's about 10%. And so you look at it and you say, well, I thought we asked for all the documents. I thought that this bill sort of alluded to the fact that we should be getting everything released. And so there's also this mixed feeling of what are we hiding here? I mean, we've got, and I could be wrong. I don't know if the initial report could be wrong, but if it is 10%, let's just say it is, then we've got some work to do here. There's this bill that got passed was to release all of the documents, to be fully transparent, and I don't know if we really have that feeling tonight, to be honest with you.
I think the law being passed is exactly why we wanted it to be passed, because now we can hold them accountable, because this is a law now, and we can hold them in contempt if they do decide to, redact perpetrators, if they don't release the items that we know they need to release. And so we're going to do our due diligence, between us, the survivors, the lawyers. We know what should be in there, and we're going to comb through every single page, and we're going to hold them accountable. And so while we're extremely disappointed, while we're frustrated, there is also this sense of empowerment. And every single survivor that I told them today, I said that the ball is in our court. I don't think anything that, again, the Department of Justice does comes to a surprise to any of us. We have seen the way they've treated this case from the very beginning as a political toy that they could use. And then when there were rumors that potentially the president could be named in there, all of a sudden the story changed. Then it was a hoax. Then there was nothing to see. And so we've seen these games before, and that's exactly why we pushed for the bill that we pushed for. And, I can only reiterate is that, we're going to hold them accountable. No one is above the law, not even a president and not even a prince, which the UK has proven that. And now it's the US's turn to prove the same.
So she would feel a lot of mixed emotions right now, but I know she would feel an overwhelming amount of joy for her survivor sisters, just like I know a lot of them are feeling tonight. They say, even if it's just 10% tonight, it's still acknowledgement. It's still these documents were being safeguarded for so long. They were being kept from the American public. They were being kept from them. They were being kept in the sense that like they couldn't even. People were saying they were lying the entire time. So for them to come out now, a very strong sense of acknowledgement, but there's a lot more to go. And let's be clear, there might be 90% more to go.
We're so proud of her and the way that her voice has been so strong. You know, the mark that she's made with her book and her book doing so well because people believe her and support her. That was such a joyous moment. The passing of the files, the bill being passed, it was such a joyous moment. But then we go back into the fact that she's not here, and these are moments that we wish we could celebrate with her. And so it's just, you know, it's a cycle. It's a cycle. And we gained so much strength from the survivors and connecting with them. And, you know, I think it's going to be a very long process for us to really get some healing from this situation.